I'm 80 years old, and I only understood why I was never happy 4 years ago. Not because my life was hard, not because I was unloved, not because anything terrible happened to me, but because I built my entire life on a decision made out of pity. I married a man I didn't love because I felt sorry for him, and I stayed for 54 years. If you've ever stayed in a relationship because it felt easier than leaving, because breaking someone's heart felt crueler than breaking your own, you need to hear this. Because I'm on the other side now, and I can tell you what that choice costs. It costs everything. I was born in 1944 in Savannah, Georgia, a conservative household where appearances mattered more than feelings, where a well-kept lawn said more about you than anything you could ever say out loud. My mother taught me that stability was happiness, that a good life meant a quiet life, that love was something that grew over time, like moss on a garden wall. I believed her. When I was 22, I met Thomas Caldwell at the public library on Bull Street. He was standing in the poetry section, reading Whitman with his finger tracing the lines like he was trying to memorize them through his skin. He wasn't handsome in the way men were supposed to be handsome. He was gentle, soft-spoken. He had hands that moved when he talked, like he was sculpting his words in the air. We started meeting there every Thursday. We'd sit by the window and talk about books, about music, about everything except what we were supposed to talk about: marriage, children, the future. With Thomas, I didn't think about the future. I just felt present. That was love, not fireworks, not drama, just the kind of quiet where you stop holding your breath. And then, in 1966, everything changed. Thomas was drafted. He joined the U.S. Army and was stationed at Fort Benning. Suddenly, the boy who read poetry was holding a rifle. He wrote me letters, beautiful, aching letters full of longing and fear, letters that said things like, "I don't know who I'll be when I come back," and "I'm afraid I'll disappoint you." Before he left, we sat on a bench near Forsyth Park. The sun was setting, turning everything gold. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "I don't think I can be the man you deserve." I didn't understand what he meant. I told him he was exactly the man I wanted, but he shook his head. He said, "There are things about me I can't explain, things I don't even have words for." And then he left. Years later, decades later, I would understand. Thomas was in love with a man in his unit. He couldn't say it. Maybe he didn't even fully know it himself, but he felt it, and it tore him apart. He never came back to me. 3 months after Thomas left, Richard Moore proposed to me. Richard had been in love with me for years. Everyone knew it. He was the kind of man who carried groceries for elderly women without being asked, who showed up to church early to set up folding chairs, who never raised his voice, never caused trouble, never made a scene. He worked at a regional insurance firm in Macon. Steady job, steady man. He asked me to marry him on a Tuesday evening in my parents' living room. He didn't get down on one knee. He just stood there holding a small ring, his hands shaking, and said, "I know you don't love me the way I love you, but I would spend my whole life trying to make you happy." And I looked at him, this kind, lonely man, and I thought about Thomas, who was gone. I thought about my mother's voice saying, "Stability is happiness." I thought about how tired I was of feeling sad, and I said yes. Not because I loved him, because I felt sorry for him. I told myself it was enough, that love would grow, that gratitude and companionship were just as good as passion. But deep down, I knew. I knew I was choosing safety over truth. I was choosing his feelings over mine. I didn't marry him because I loved him. I married him because I felt sorry for him. We moved to a small house in Warner Robins. white shutters, green lawn, a mailbox with our names painted on it. We went to church on Sundays. We had dinner with neighbors. We smiled in photographs. We had 2 children. Elaine, our daughter, was born in 1969. Marcus, our son, came 2 years later. From the outside, we looked like every other family on the block. Richard was a good father. He coached Marcus's little league team. He helped Elaine with her science projects. He never forgot a birthday, never missed a recital. And me? I did everything I was supposed to do. I cooked, I cleaned, I volunteered at the school. I showed up, but I was never fully there. People would say, "You're so lucky to have Richard. He adores you." And I would smile and nod and say, "I know." But inside, I felt nothing. Not anger, not resentment, just flatness. We never fought. We never screamed. We never slammed doors. We just existed side by side, polite, functional, empty. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling a sadness I couldn't name, a longing for something I couldn't identify. And I told myself it was normal, that this was what marriage was, that happiness was a childish fantasy. Nothing was wrong, and that was the problem. Richard adored me. He told me I was beautiful even when I felt invisible. He brought me coffee in bed. He held my hand in church. And I let him, not because I wanted to, but because it was easier than explaining why I didn't. I became efficient. I perfected the art of being present without being there. I learned how to smile without feeling it, how to nod without listening, how to touch without connecting. I gave my children everything except the one thing they needed most, joy. I provided, I scheduled, I managed, but I didn't glow. When Elaine was 11, she asked me a question I will never forget. We were sitting at the kitchen table. She was doing her homework. I was folding laundry. And out of nowhere, she looked at me and said, "Mom, why don't you ever look happy?" I froze. I didn't know what to say. So I said, "Of course I'm happy, sweetheart. I have you and your brother and your father. Why wouldn't I be happy?" She just stared at me, and then she went back to her homework. That night, after everyone was asleep, I stood in the kitchen and cried. I cried because she was right. I cried because I didn't know how to fix it. And then I stopped crying, and I never let myself cry again. I told myself that feelings didn't matter, that duty mattered, that sacrifice was love. But it wasn't love. It was fear. Fear of being selfish, fear of being cruel, fear of admitting that I had made a mistake. Richard died when I was 76. He went to bed one night and didn't wake up. Peacefully, quietly, the way he lived. Everyone expected me to fall apart, but I didn't. I felt nothing. Not relief, not grief, just a vast, hollow emptiness. I went through the motions, planned the funeral, accepted condolences, thanked people for casseroles I would never eat. And then, 6 months later, I was cleaning out the attic. I found a shoebox tucked behind old Christmas decorations. Inside were letters. Letters from Thomas. I hadn't looked at them in decades. I had packed them away when I married Richard and never opened them again. But now, alone in a dusty attic at 76 years old, I sat down and read them, every single one. They were beautiful, achingly beautiful. He wrote about the sky in Georgia, about the way light looked through the library windows, about the future he imagined, a small house, shelves full of books, quiet mornings. And at the end of one letter, he wrote, "I hope you found happiness, even if it wasn't with me." That line broke me because I hadn't. I hadn't found happiness. I had found safety, stability, respectability, but not happiness. I sat there on the attic floor, surrounded by 54 years of a life I never truly wanted, and I understood. I had spent my entire life trying not to hurt Richard, and in doing so, I had hurt everyone, myself, my children, and yes, even Richard, because he deserved to be loved fully, not out of obligation, not out of pity, and I had never given him that. If you're watching this and you're staying in a relationship because it feels cruel to leave, listen to me. If you're staying because you don't want to be the bad guy, because you don't want to break someone's heart, because you think enduring is the same as loving, stop. Pity is not kindness. Pity is slow, quiet, emotional dishonesty. It's telling someone you love them when what you really mean is, I don't want to hurt you. It's staying because leaving feels selfish, even though staying is killing you both. Here's what I learned too late. Staying doesn't spare anyone pain. It just delays it and spreads it and makes it so much worse. Your children will inherit your emotional silence. They will learn that love is something you endure, not something you feel. They will grow up wondering why you never looked happy, and they will carry that question into their own relationships. Your partner will spend years adoring someone who isn't fully there, and one day they will realize it, and it will devastate them. And you will wake up at 80 years old and realize you never lived your own life. I'm 80 years old now. My children are grown. My husband is gone. My body is failing. And I finally understand. Love requires courage. Real love isn't about making someone else happy. It's about choosing someone and being chosen fully, honestly, without reservation. I never chose Richard, and he deserved to be chosen. I never chose myself, and I deserved that too. I wasted 54 years trying to be good, trying to be selfless, trying to be the woman everyone expected me to be. And in the end, I was nothing. Not because my life was bad, but because it was never truly mine. If I could go back, I would leave. Not out of cruelty, not out of selfishness, but out of honesty. I would tell Richard the truth. I would hurt him in the short term to save us both in the long term. I would choose love over fear, but I can't go back. All I can do is tell you this. Your life is shorter than you think, and staying in a relationship because of guilt is not noble. It's not love. It's cowardice dressed up as sacrifice. So I'll ask you the question I should have asked myself 60 years ago. Are you living out of love or out of fear of hurting someone? Because if it's the latter, you need to know. Everyone involved is already being hurt. You're just pretending not to notice. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait until you're 80 years old to realize you never lived your own life. Choose yourself while you still can.